So today we're looking at the page that says Polynomials up top where it says the directions. Simplify each expression. You're going to notice that the first two questions up top have a plus sign and a minus sign. So when you have polynomials, you just need to add and subtract them. That's when you're looking for what we call like terms. Like terms means they're going to have the same variable parts. So the same variable parts is when you have x squared and x squared, or you have y to the fifth and y to the fifth. But if you have x to the seventh and x to the fourth, those are not like terms and you can't put them together. Okay, so it has to have the same variable parts. So in number 30, we're going to look for terms in the first set of parentheses that match up with terms in the second set of parentheses, and then we're going to do what this sign tells us to do. In this case, it's add. All right? One thing to also note is that when you're writing it in what we call standard form, you want to start with the largest exponent first. So I check out my exponents and I see, oh, the x squared is the largest exponent, so I'm going to combine the negative 4x squared with the minus 2x squared. I'm going to add them together, and that gets me negative 6x squared. Then I look for the next largest exponent, which would be the 7x and the 3x. I add them together because that's what the sign tells me to do, and I get plus 10x. The only two terms that are left are numeric. So we have the negative 19 plus 14, which is going to be minus or negative 5. Are you just late to class?
Yeah.
Okay. Jumping over to box 31, the only thing that's different is the sign in the middle. The sign in the middle says we need to subtract, and you could start with the largest exponent, then subtract whatever the like term is it. But one trick I use is instead of subtracting, I change it to adding, and then I switch signs of all the terms inside the parentheses. So this should be negative 10w minus w squared plus 2w cubed minus 1. That's one trick I use. You might have another trick that works for you, so don't use mine, but I use mine so I don't miss any signs. Okay, so I'm going to look for the largest exponent, which is the third power, or you can call it cubed. This is 8w cubed. I come over here and I've got a plus 2w cubed. So those two combine to get 10w cubed. Then I'm looking for squares. I've only got one right here. There aren't any in the first set of parentheses, so I just have the minus w squared. Next largest exponent would be the minus 9w and minus 10w. So minus makes it negative 19w. And then the only thing that's left are my numeric terms, the 28 minus the 1, so I've got plus 27. Bless you. All right, any questions on 31? Anybody lose track of any of those signs? That's the hardest part, and if you need help with that, I can show you how to do it on your calculator. All right. In box 32, you're going to notice that the plus or the minus is missing. The set of parentheses is just right next to each other. So what does that mean to do? It means to multiply. Okay, so when you have two terms in a set of parentheses and another two terms in another set of parentheses, they're called binomials. And there's a little acronym that we use to help us remember what to do. FOIL. Does anybody know what FOIL stands for? Not today? Anybody knows what FOIL stands for? No? So we've got first, outside, inside, last. Okay? The other thing you can do is something called the box method. Hopefully your Algebra 1 teacher taught you one or the other, or maybe both of these. I'm going to show you both in box 32. I'm going to do the FOIL method first. And then I'm also going to do the box method. You're going to see that they both get the same answer. So you can choose to do whichever way you prefer. F stands for first. So you're going to multiply the 6k times the 2k, which is 12k squared. O stands for outside. So you're going to multiply 6k times negative 3, which is negative 18k. I stands for inside. So you're going to multiply the negative 5 times the 2k, which is negative 10k. L stands for last. So we're going to multiply negative 5 times negative 3, which is plus 15. There's a 1 there. Make it dark. 95% of the time, the two middle terms are going to be your like terms, and they're going to be what combined together. So we'll get 12k squared. We're going to combine these two together and get negative 28k, and then plus the 15. That's called the FOIL method. Now let's look at the box method. So you're going to draw a little box. You're going to divide it into 4 parts like this. And you're going to write each of the binomials either along the left side or across the top. So I'm going to write 6k minus 5 across the top and 2k minus 3 on the side. Multiplication order doesn't matter, so it wouldn't matter which spot you put which. Okay. But in each box, we're going to put the product of what's above it and what's to the side of it. So for this box right here, we're going to say 6k times 2k is 12k squared. In this box right here, we're going to multiply the negative 5 and the 2k, which is negative 10k. In this box over here, we're going to multiply negative 3 times 6k, which is negative 18k. And in the box over here, we're going to multiply the negative 5 and the negative 3, which is positive 15. What's nice about the box method is you can easily see that this box and this box are your like terms. So you don't have to write them out each separate. You can combine them in one step. So you'll take your 12k squared, combine these two to get negative 28k, and then the 15 doesn't have a like term. So it kind of helps you skip a step. Any questions on the foiling or the boxing? All right, like I said, you can choose, you can pick which one you like better and go with it. All right. Number 33, I'm going to only use FOIL on it. If you want to use the box method, go for it. The other thing to note about number 33 is it follows a special pattern. Pattern has an N. Okay. So I'm going to multiply 4x times 4x, which is 16x squared. Then I'm going to do the O, which is outside, so the 4x times the positive 1, which is 4x. I stands for inside, so the negative 1 times the 4x, so minus 4x. L stands for last, which is negative 1 times positive 1, so negative 1. And as I mentioned, it almost always, these two middle terms are going to be like terms and they will combine together. What do you notice about these two terms? They're opposites of each other, right? You've got a plus 4x and a minus 4x. So plus 4x and minus 4x goes to 0, and they cancel each other out, and we're left with 16x squared, which is a perfect square, minus 1, which is also a perfect square. That's why I said at the beginning that it's a special pattern. Okay? After you do a bunch of them, you start to see certain patterns on them, and you'll get faster at them. Okay? Number 34 is kind of special because there's a couple, it's combining a couple things into one problem. For instance, this binomial 3x plus 1 is being squared. That means to take 3x plus 1 and multiply it times 3x plus 1. The second part of this problem, we need to distribute here and here. So we're going to take negative 5 and multiply it by 4x, which gets us negative 20x. And then we're going to take negative 5 again and multiply it by negative 1, which gets us plus 1. Now we just need to FOIL this part right here. So F stands for first. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. O stands for outside. 3x times 1 is a 3x. I stands for inside, which is another 1 times 3x, so another 3x. L stands for last. 1 times 1 is 1. Bring down the minus 20x plus 1. Now we get to look for like terms. Start with the largest exponent. Okay, so the largest exponent here is the x squared. So we have 9x squared. Check it off so you know which ones you've used. Okay, the next largest exponent is just the x. So we're going to take the 3x and the 3x, which is 6x, minus 20x more, so negative 14x. I'm going to check that one off, check that one off, check that one off. And then all we have left are the numeric parts, the 1 and the 1, which is 2. Did I miss something? Mm-hmm. Oh, when I distributed here, negative 5 times negative 1 should be plus 5, not 1. So this should be a 5, which makes this a 6. Is that what you were? Yeah. Thanks for catching that. All right, any questions on 34 other than what I just fixed? Okay, awesome. Number 35, we have a binomial, which is 2 terms, and then right next to it, we have a trinomial, okay? So we need to distribute this a to all 3 parts here. So we're going to take the a and draw a rainbow to the a squared. Take the a and draw a rainbow over to negative 4a. Take the a and draw a rainbow over to 2. But we also need to distribute the positive 6. So we're going to draw a rainbow to a squared, a rainbow to negative 4a, and a rainbow to positive 2. So we're going to end up multiplying how many times? 6, right? 3 rainbows up top, 3 rainbows down the bottom. So a times a squared is a cubed. A times negative 4a is negative 4a squared. And a times 2 is 2a. So we've got the top 3 done. Now let's do the bottom 3. So we're going to take the positive 6 and multiply it by a squared. That gets us 6a squared. And then the 6 times the negative 4a, which is negative 24a. And then the last one, the 6 times the 2, is 12. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms because we multiplied 6 times. But that's not our final answer because we have some like terms. Everybody see the like terms up there? We want to combine any like terms. So you want to start with the largest exponent, which is a cubed. There's only one of them. So there's nothing to combine it with. Now let's look for the squareds. I have a negative 4a squared and a 6a squared. So that gets me 2a squared. Bless you. Check them off so we know we've used them. Now we look for the next largest exponent, which is just the a's. The 2a minus the 24a is minus 22a. Check them off. And the only one left is the 12. So it obviously doesn't combine with anything. Okay?